Good morning, folks. I scared myself. You see that little piece of tape? I put that over my camera on my phone last night. I'm starting my camera up and I can't get a vision. I flip it around. There's the top of the laptop of the table of the chair on the other side of the cell phone. And I flip it back to myself. I'm like, my God, I got no reflection. What am I, a werewolf or something? No, but I'll tell you this. I looked outside and there were no stars in the sky. I looked around, felt kind of weird because it's desert sky, almost always stars. Almost always. Finally looked straight up. There was one glimmer of hope. Got that? Folks, we got to talk about coming out of her. It says come out of her. Put that piece of tape up on the corner there. Come out of her, lest you partake in her sins. No, I haven't been making videos lately. I've been cooling myself down, cooling my jets. Been trying to take care of myself. I haven't been reading a lot either. Just not in the mood for anything because just an overactive mind after a lot of insults and injuries. Just too much going on. Not to say I think I'm carrying a bit of a load of the toxins, the neurotoxins that are about our environment and our food, in the water and in the air. Everything's weaponized. We are in a war. A lot of these weapons are silent. But I think the most important thing we can do is come out of her. Now I'm going to try to talk about this at a few levels and try to keep this thing short because I think people prefer the shorter videos. I know I do. So, talking to my Jewish girlfriend. I know, I got people that think I'm anti-Semitic, right? And I got other people that tell me, you got what for friends? I mean, I get it from both sides. I understand that. But she said something that astounded me, and it didn't really hit me till later after we got off the phone. She said in coming out of the beast system, which you all look around and you say, where's the beast system today? Oh, it's got to be over in the Middle East, over in Babylon, right? Nah, man, you're living in it. Face the facts. We are in that baby today. Covers the whole world. Well, back to the point. She tells me that in order to come out of the beast system, she has to take her children off the birth certificate scheme. It's a fraudulent scheme. They sell like birth certificates as bonds in the stock market. So when you talk about bond slaves in the Bible, believe me, you're a bond slave today. You really, really are. She's talking about recording their births in the Bible. Hold on, it's a Jewish woman, right? I don't know her that well. She's not really my girlfriend, but a long time ago she said I was okay and I could call her anytime. And for a woman to say that is kind of like a big invitation to me. And we've become friends. That's all there is to it. So she writes her births of her children in the Bible to record it there. Now, the other thing that I know from the past is that we used to record our marriages in the Bible. And if there was a problem and you had to go before a judge and you needed to prove that you were married, you brought in the family Bible, it was acceptable. It was accepted as a witness to the court. And that was your evidence that you were married. Now, we didn't have marriage licenses in this country till after World War II. Near as I can tell, do your own research, correct me. Never take anything that I say full face value. Don't accept it wholesale. Don't swallow the shit, okay? Sorry. Okay, my language isn't so good. Fine. But my heart's in the right place. She's going to write it in the Bible. Okay. I'm going to have to talk with her about what Jews really have to do with the Bible. She's Sephardic, in case you're wondering, and I explained to her the history of those who claim they're Jews but are really of the synagogue of Satan. I explained. She kept trying to get defensive and interrupted me and stuff. I bulldozed over her because I just wanted to get through the material. I just wanted to spit it out there. And she finally says, oh, so that's what the Jewish problem is about. I had to take the chance of offending her, but I got the point across. She understood it. Do I have it entirely right? Oh, hell no. But I got it generally right? Oh, you bet your ass I do. So much for my language again. You need to come out of her, out of the beast system, lest you partake in her sins. And one of the things you have to do is become a landed citizen. And you take yourself out of the United States citizenship. Several ways to do that. Don't ask me how. I'm not an expert on it. I'm going to go do it myself. I keep saying it's on my list of to-do things. What I know is that a while back there was a really nice lady, also from Louisiana, like my Jewish girlfriend's from New Orleans. This other woman was from upstate Louisiana, which is basically your swamp next door, I guess. And she had horse country, and she posted some, well, a little bit salacious photos, but they were really tasty. And she liked to take pictures of herself with guns. And I don't know how big she was, but the 45s look pretty big on her, I'll put it that way. She told me, you got to come out of the system. You got to get yourself out of the system. Back then, I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. I had an inkling, but I didn't really know. So basically what it comes down to is you have to take yourself out of their contract so they don't have jurisdiction over you. All of these people in this country run around saying they're United States citizens. That's hogwash. There was no such thing as a United States citizen until after the Civil War with the passage of the 14th Amendment, that illegal amendment that threw us off. It was, remember, well, it enslaved us all. It was supposed to free us, but it enslaved us. So, I like the fact that a Jewish woman points out to me that you got to use the Bible to get a license, if you will, or record it, because marriage is supposed to be holy, supposed to be before God, right? And of course, World War II, the government needed to raise money, so they decided to tax everything. So they gave you a license. You wanted to go hunting and fishing, you had to have a license. You wanted to drive a car, you had to have a license. We're just doing this temporarily to fund the war. When the war's over, we're not going to, these are going to go away. Bull excrement. So, you got to take yourself out of the system, lest you partake of her sins. How do you do that? Well, I'll get it done for myself and tell you what I did. How's that sound? And that will motivate me to get my ass on it right away. Because I'm tired of dragging my feet. I want to be out of their system. Systems of frauds and cheats. They are liars, murderers, and thieves. I think there's another way to say that as well. But I'm flexible, maybe too flexible in my thinking, and here I am telling you about my Jewish girlfriend, which of course will throw some of you off because you think I'm a hard ass. And no, I'm pretty soft. I got to admit it. I got a soft spot for strong women, young women, good-looking women, honest. I mean, those who can just tell you the doggone truth. I mean, even Roseanne Barr is starting to look good to me. I didn't really want to go down this one. I didn't plan on this one, but it's popped up. Roseanne Barr didn't appeal to me early on. She was far too brusque, too harsh. But she's still direct, and she said some things that really shocked me recently. I don't know what the clip was from, but I think she was being interviewed in a talk show, and she said that the Jews should be put to death for what they were doing to the world. At least 6 million of them. And I'm like, what? How can you say this? I mean, you're going to bring up the Holocaust and say we need to do that again? or it didn't happen in the first place, or what, Roseanne? But then she says what they're doing is so bad they should be sentenced to death, basically, okay? And then, of course, the doggone interviewer asks and says, "Are you Jewish?" She says, "Oh, yeah, through and through, baby. 100%, man. She's Jewish." And she's saying this, and it's profound. I'm not going to bring up the other thing that she said about why she, well, I will bring it up. Somebody asked her, I can't say that. Somebody asked her why she wasn't part of this twisted, corrupt Hollywood elite that runs around parties and does each other, and I guess the kids too. I don't really like going there thinking about that at all, because nobody really knows the truth today, and I think a lot of this shit is set up to throw us off. I've seen some weird videos, but they take them off the internet, especially the ones that show the false flags. Yeah, and they're doing the kids. Some of that might be false flags. And the killing of people like Ashley Babbitt, some of these things might be false flags. I think they are. I think that we're being manipulated to and fro, pushed in one direction, then the opposite direction. Why? Because if you keep bending that knife, that piece of steel, back and forth, over time, it loses its temper and it breaks. That's what they've done to America. That's what your psychologists have helped them do in the background. You know, I was looking for work as a potentially unlicensed psychologist because my board was giving me grief because I was doing the right thing and filing reports required and doing what was moral and ethical and required by the damn laws. When I get a little bit emotional like that, I lose track easily. We psychologists have really damaged the country. We have pushed you in one direction and then the other direction. We have told you that you have to respect everybody else's value systems, but you can't have one for yourself. We have told you that loving your own kind is selfish, that liking your own people is racist. Come on, folks. This stuff's absurd. When I thought I was going to be never getting a license and I wanted to work, I was trying to figure out how I was going to make ends meet. I found out that half of the psychologists that had been trained, half of the social scientists, half of these social psychiatrists that had been trained were working for corporations and for the government behind the scenes. There were as many working, let's just call it a black market, as there were in the recognized licensed market. We've managed this plantation into the ground. We have pushed people in one direction, and then when it suits us, or we think they're ready to go in the other direction and get the screws put into them that direction and put pressure on them, we push them in the other direction. You need to take yourself out of the system. You are in the beast system. How do you take yourself out? Well, you could do it by changing your passport and declaring yourself an American national rather than a citizen of the United States. And to do that, I believe you amend your passport and you make a declaration that none of your previous members, your fathers, your sisters, all the people before you, none of them were citizens of the United States. And it's true. Unless you're of mixed race, then it might not be true. How's that? 14th Amendment decided that it was going to legitimize, if you will, and limit the number of heads in the South for the purposes of keeping the congressional representation and hence the power down on the southern states after they've been conquered. So, in other words, state of Mississippi, with all those blacks in it, we can't give them all the congressmen they have coming for that because then we would lose power. So we're going to, and also Mississippi won't recognize them as citizens anyway. So we're going to recognize them as citizens. We're going to nip this in the bud. And we're going to call each black head as a third of a person, a third of a man. And by the way, the natives, the way I read that, look at it yourself. The way I read it, they didn't count for anything. There was no representation of the natives, of the people on the reservations at least. So, I mean, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to be wrong either. So, if you're American Native, you got that, that blood in you, which is not. It's not as bad as what people claim in many ways. And I'll tell you, the Israelites were here way before Israel fell. We were over here mining and stuff and doing other things. And then we abandoned a bunch of Israelites here. And we actually had, the Welsh actually had a tribe over here, if you will. There was a group of Welsh people that were in the Ohio River on one of the islands there. And why did we know about this? Because we found the skulls from the massacre. These were 6 to 7 foot tall white men. I hate the term white. Caucasians. And they were massacred. The Indians ganged up on them. Why? Well, obviously they weren't good neighbors, so they killed them. But it was a bunch of tall Welsh dudes, tall Welsh people, if you will, giants, if you will, baby giants. I mean, just a little bit tall, just not quite as big as Goliath was. They killed them all. So don't tell me that. Whoa, and also Vikings came over here a lot earlier than what we thought. They went to the middle of the country. So we brought our seed over here and mixed it with theirs. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. I still believe Yahweh created it the way he loved it, the way he wants it. And that, well, we become co-creators. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I don't think any of us knows what we really are. And if we found out that we're mixed, would we condemn ourselves or would we accept ourselves? Okay. I hope I'm getting across flexibility in these things, because you have no idea how much Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, or Denison, or Dragon Man you have in you. There have been so many different versions of us on the planet. It's not funny. It's massive. I know we think of Adam. All men came from him. So this one person. Okay. Have you ever looked at yourself? Have you ever thought of how many people you came from? You got your parents, then you got your grandparents, then you got your great-grandparents, and I don't have 16 fingers, but then you got your great-great-grandparents. So what I'm getting at is, as you go backwards in your genealogy, you've got a lot of people, a lot of connections. And you have to be grateful for those people, because had they not survived, hadn't they been strong enough or naive enough not to fall in love, you'd have never arrived. That's all there is to it. So you and I, we owe it to our predecessors that our existence, that we are here. Um, there was a hiccup in my accessing of my YouTube channel the other day, and I don't like. I like being able to speak honestly and truthfully. I don't like being censored. I don't think the YouTube algorithms are going to be able to handle my videos because I don't want to talk like a fucking robot. I'm not going to do it. I'm a man. I'm a living man. I make mistakes. And I'm also trained in English. I have a license to obliterate the language and use it in any way I want. It says right there in the Constitution, the First Amendment. Anyway, it sent me a message saying, why is it that you might have, your YouTube channel might have been taken down and you don't have access? So it's like, you're going to rat yourself out. You're going to tell on yourself. You're going to tell us why we took you down and won't give you access. And I said, I just said a simple thing in there, and I don't know. I just told him, look, I have no idea as to what's going on here. Um, if YouTube, I have one sponsor. It's Bible. So if YouTube has found that offensive, then YouTube has become a publisher. YouTube has lost their license if they've taken me down because they've decided to censor me. They're a publisher. I sell Bibles. What's not to like about First Amendment free speech rights, which also include the freedom to worship as we please? So here I've got one product, and that's it. And you're going to take me down? Okay. How un American. I don't know if we can get our country back. I don't know if we can go slow enough to do it. I certainly don't think it's going to happen quickly. The fact is, they've taken down our country, they've taken it over. Who are they? They are the ones controlled by the international bankers and the really rich families behind them. That's all there is to it. Now, I don't think I'm part of one of those families, but it could be. If that was the case, they're keeping it secret from me. More importantly, I think that when the system detects capable people like myself, they go after us and they target us and they marginalize us. I think they've had psychotronic weapons on us since I was born. I think they've been able to put in images and audio into your skull. They've been able to broadcast right inside that thick skull of yours and mine. And so our thoughts may not be our thoughts. It might be the beaming from some one of their weapons, and anything that's any invention that comes along, they weaponize. They use it all against us. So the other thing I've discovered is that they actually can control what we say. Whoa. I think they can control what we do. So they can play us just like marionettes, puppets, puppet masters. I don't like this thinking. You can now see why I do my best to take breaks from this at this point. But I will tell you and share with you that I'm enthusiastic. I've located another motorhome. I'm doing everything I can to put myself into it. I'm going to keep the old motorhome for a little bit until I'm certain that I'm not going to be using it again. This rig is ideal to get in the national parks, and who knows, if they screw with diesel, at least I will have a gas engine, rig to be able to get on the road with. And aside from that, I like this little rig. My mother and my father picked this out, and they labored pretty hard. It's a nice, cheery rig. It really is. It's wonderful. It's been in the family. We're the second owners, and I put a lot into it. She's kind of rough from being lived in full time for so long, but That's the way it goes. There's wear and tear on these things. But she's also better than new in several ways because I've improved the appliances in her. I want you to buy my Bibles. Like the video, subscribe, leave comments. That would be all wonderful. Try not to share this with people that are very narrow minded. Don't share this with people who don't have never touched the Bible. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be a Bible scholar, but you got to be in there. You got to be a believer. What is a believer? Well, I think reading the Bible is what the main thing is, because a lot of us pull from the Bible different things than what others pull from. I think it's an individual, single subject design, to use a psychological term. Life is a single subject design. It's a single subject study. And to borrow the best things from a liberal jackass at work years ago, a man really needs two lives, one to live by, well, one to learn by, and then another one to live by. So that's kind of some southern wisdom for you, if you will. What do I want you to do? I don't want you to rebel. I want you to defend. In order to defend yourself, you're going to need the Bible. You're going to need the clear thinking that only reading the Bible can give you. That's my opinion. Now, you have to be careful. You don't want to become like me, where you get too much going on and you start getting dark stuff coming from it, because I see the evil guys using the Bible too all the time. They try to mimic it. It's part of their psychological warfare on us. I think that we also need to establish the American family once again. And I think we do that by writing births in the Bible, writing marriages in the Bible, and using that as an authority, because that was the authority when we were founded. That wasn't merely accepted, that was a law of the land. Now, don't get carried away and be too harsh with what's in the Bible and administering justice in a biblically overly harsh, harmful way. That would not be constructive. It wouldn't be good for the other person that you're doing it to, because you could wreak havoc on them, and it wouldn't be good for you in the long run, because you'd be wreaking havoc on yourself. It's just the way it is. I like the ideas of karma. The Bible said instant retribution. At least that's what the footnote said. So it's been taken out of Western tradition to talk about karma. But instant retribution is something that's easily understood. You do something bad happens to you. Okay. Those concepts were part of the early Christian church, separated out by Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine pulled him out because he had a wife that he had picked up from the streets, and she had some bad habits. She liked to entertain her guests in the dungeon. And so he was worried about what was going to happen to his wife in the future, because she was so evil. She was so wicked. So he decided to pull that stuff out of the early tradition, the early church. He also was the great grandson of Herod the Great, who was an Idumean, who was basically the head honcho of Israel at the time of Yeshua, the Messiah, Jesus Christ. He was the one that ordered the killing of all the babies in a particular area 2 years old and under, which was prophesied in the Bible too by a prophet years before. I don't know, maybe 700 years, maybe 900 years before the birth of Christ. He was prophesied. I will roll in and out of the term Messiah and Christ, Jesus, Yeshua, and also Yahweh, Yahweh, Creator, Father, Lord. I like to call him Creator, Father. Why? Well, because in the Bible there's different kinds of men. Some of them he created. The other ones he begat. There's a difference. Don't expect me to explain it all to you. All I know is there's a difference. And I think when I say Creator Father, I cover it all because some of us have been created, some of us have been fathered. And of course, those of us who really want to walk on the way realize that we want to be fathered, parented. We want to be chastised. We want to learn. We want to grow. We want to become men, don't we? Yeah, we do. Requires a little bit more attention. Not as much attention as raising women, by the way. That's about 4 times the energy, 4 times the cost. I mean, even mothers will tell me how happy they are to have sons because they're cheaper than daughters. And, also they don't give competition to mom like daughters do. A woman is a balancing act. There's a lot more to her. There's more given to her for the purposes of motherhood. She needs to use that for the purposes of motherhood. When she uses it to manipulate her environment and have her way, she drives herself crazy. And the rest of us crazy too. Okay. So, yeah, I'm a little biased. I still want you coming out of her. How do you do that? Well, get one of my Bibles, sit on your butt and read it. Don't listen to me so much or anybody else tell you what's in there. You read it for yourself because it's that Holy Spirit and that connection that you build when you're reading that's going to tell you and inform you better than anybody else can. And, of course, when you get occasion to talk to somebody else who's a fellow Bible reader, and you can brainstorm and talk openly without any condemnation, without any discrimination, without any racism, without any BS, without any narcissist telling you lording it over you. It's good, if you respect each other and consider these concepts and these different perspectives that you have, it's a good exercise time. It's like a storm has passed through, and the air is clean because you worked it out together, as iron sharpens iron. Come out of her. Stop being a citizen of the United States. Start being an American national. We were citizens of our states before the Civil War. When you were introduced, it was always introduced like not David Bowie, the knife guy out of Kentucky, I think it was. I think it was David Bowie. We had the musician David Bowie, and then we had Davy Crockett, Danny Boone, whatever. These guys would always be introduced. Here they are, Texans, right at the Alamo, and said the citizen from the great state of Kentucky, or from the great state of Missouri, or from the great state of Mississippi. Or, by the way, Mississippi was a really great state before that Civil War. Mississippi had the highest per capita income of any state in the whole country. It was 3 times the highest income. The income of the highest earning state in the North, which was Connecticut. So I think Connecticut was like averaging $713 a year. Guess what Mississippi was making? The average man in Mississippi, $2,100. Now, I don't know how those stats were put together, but the main thing was that the North was jealous of the South's abundance and wealth, and they tried to tax it away, and the South was funding the government. They were taxing the South. They set the taxes up, so all the money to run the federal government came from the South. So out of the $10 million annual budget for the central government, $8 million of it came out of the southern states. That's worth fighting over. And that's what they fought over. It was unfair. The South was right. Now, I'm not saying about slavery. We need to return to the law of the land, which is the original 13th Amendment. And I know you're going to say, Dr. Kent, you can't legalize slavery. No, I'm not legalizing slavery. Nobody's going to legalize slavery again. Well, in a certain sense, that's what we have because we're all bondservants. What I'm getting at is the 13th Amendment was overwritten by the Bar Association people so that they could rule the roost and imprison us. You know, bars, living behind bars. The Bar Association keeps you in prison. British Accreditation Regency. They run the show in place of their king to this day. To this day. And it is the law of the land. It was ratified properly. It was enacted, and then a year later they made the big badass mistake of sitting the attorneys in Congress, even though the Bar Association members, even though they weren't supposed to even have any jobs inside of our borders. They weren't supposed to hold any positions of emolument. Emolument? I can't say it right. These are words we don't use often, but it's in the Constitution. Go read it for yourself. I consider it the third or fourth testimony. Well, it depends on how you break the Bible down. If the Bible is one testimony, then the Declaration is a second testimony, and then you get your Constitution, which is a third testimony. Creator Father God Yahweh gave us that instrument, gave us all of our being, everything. And we turned our backs on Him. And we shed innocent blood every day around the world, especially here at home. He don't appreciate that much. I don't know what number video this is. I'm a little bit on the tired side. So I've got to do what I got to do. I got to actually listen to this before I put it up. I don't edit these things, and this one's a risky video if I've ever had one. And I'll figure the number out. I think it's 97. I don't know. Could be 98, but I think it's 97. May Creator, Father, God, Yahweh bless you today.